The Beatles' Innovation in America. Allegra Kuney,
Alyssa Bosso,
Emilie Fruman.
One, two, three, four.
I'm so glad that she's my little girl. She's so glad she's telling all the world that her baby buys her things, you know. He buys her diamond rings, you know. She said so. She's in love with me and I feel fine. She's in love with me and I feel
Fine, so I can't go to the concert. But can I at least get that awesome Beatles haircut?
Now why on earth would you need a Beatles haircut? I mean, you've already got that ridiculous Beatles lunchbox.
It's not ridiculous, it's hip.
Hit my foot. Anyway, I've seen what they do at those concerts. Girls acting like heathens, screaming and crying.
Because they're cool and funny and gorgeous and talented.
Talented? A bunch of boys singing about love in those ridiculous accents? When I was your age, we listened to real music, not British boys with guitars. And girls behave themselves in public, thank you very much.
Well, this is 1964, not 1944, Mother. It's a new time.
The year was 1964. The place any American city or town. And Beatlemania was sweeping the nation.
The four boys from Liverpool, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, beloved for their mop-top haircuts and, of course, their catchy songs, were already popular in England. But they hit the U.S. in a way no British band had ever done before.
When they appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show that November, it set the stage for dozens of other British bands to become popular in America.
Elvis Presley may have been the first American Idol, but the Beatles were the first world idols.
And nobody knew that better than the boys themselves.
Excuse me, are you embarrassed by Beatlemania and the near lunacy you create?
No, we love lunatics. It's healthy.
Why do you sing like Americans but talk like Englishmen?
It sells better.
What do you think of the Stamp Out the Beatles campaign by a group of Detroit students?
Actually, we're starting out a Stand By Detroit campaign, first of all.
Will you sing for us?
No.
Today, just 2 weeks after its first release, sales records indicate that the newest Beatles album has sold over 1 million copies. This is an unprecedented number by a previously unknown artist. I just don't get the appeal of those ruffians. The Beatles are coming. The Beatles are coming. Mary Sue Johnson, where did you get that haircut?
Lisa gave it to me. Isn't it a gas? She just put a bowl over my head.
I don't want to know. The point is, I don't like the effect those Beatles are having on you and the other girls in America.
Don't have a cow, Mom.
Don't talk to me in that tone of voice, young lady. Now go get ready for dinner. The British government is said to be pleased, as the Beatles are quickly becoming England's biggest export since the bowler hat. I'll say.
Yesterday, my daughter brought home this teen magazine with a Beatle on the cover. I looked in it and I read this. We're more popular than Jesus now? I don't know which will go first. Rock and roll or Christianity? This is an abomination. You kids thought these Beatles were just an innocent band, right? Well, the Beatles are hypocrites and a corrupting influence to any young Christian. Parents, do not take this lightly. Some kids, they're sticking up for their heroes, making us question if the devil is involved. I invite you all to a protest. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, outside of Radio KLUE headquarters. Tell the station we won't tolerate this heathen music anymore. Bring your Beatles records and posters. We'll burn them. Then they'll see nobody's bigger than Jesus.
The thing the 60s did was give us a glimpse of the possibility and the responsibility each of us had. It wasn't the answer. It just gave us a glimpse at the possibilities. John Lennon. One, two, three, four. You say you want a revolution.
To forgive our brothers
Well, you know,
is to forgive ourselves. We abandon our revenge in order to change the world. What do we want? Peace! When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want? Peace! And when do we want it?
Now!
Don't you know it's gonna be
alright.
Yeah, you know it's gonna be
Alright.
You know it's gonna be
Alright.
Yeah, you know it's gonna be
Alright.
to college.
I'm gonna go stop by Woolworths and pick up the new Beatles album.
Oh, not them again. And here I was so glad you grew your hair out from that silly Beatles cut.
Mom, the Beatles are bigger than just haircuts and lunchboxes now. They're part of a movement, part of a revolution.
No, honey, the Beatles are just a band.
No, Mom, I don't think so. Beatles were never just a band. As a girl, we were screaming for them. We were really expressing ourselves as women.
Oh, fine, but really? A revolution?
Yeah, all you need is love, man. Chai Karudea, Om.
What does that mean?
I don't know, George said it.
George who? Honey, what's that smell? Are you smoking the reefer?
Yeah, you want to drag?
Oh my God, my daughter is a hippie!
I've been listening to the Beatles since I was a kid, man. Their new stuff, it's really great. Psychedelic guitars and sitars and Indian music. And then, from the Beatles, I got into Donovan and the Grateful Dead and the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Then I discovered the herb. It really opens my mind, man. I don't care what my mother says. Never trust anyone over 30. I am he as you are he and you are me and we are all together.
I declare that the Beatles are mutants, prototypes of evolutionary agents sent by God, endowed with a special power to create a new human species, a young race of laughing free men. Timothy Leary.
We come to you now with tragic breaking news. Last night, John Lennon was shot and killed outside of his New York apartment building. This effectively ends any hope of a Beatles reunion, bringing a close to the band that was an emblem of the 1960s. The Beatles were as much of a staple of the revolutionary 60s as the Vietnam War. As the world reels from the death of this landmark artist, the question still remains: exactly how much did the Beatles influence rock music? We're here with Allegra and Emily of the Bloody Thunderbolts after their win at the 104th Grammys.
Yeah.
Hi. So tell me, who were your band's biggest influences?
Oh, the Beatles. Definitely the Beatles.
Well, everyone says the Beatles, but really...
No, seriously. I mean, you know how the Bloody Thunderbolt uses a string quartet in a few of our songs?
Yeah?
Straight from the
Those
Beatles.
are the first ones, man. Oh, or how we use guitar feedback, or layer tracks over one another.
Yeah, but every band does that.
Beatles did it first.
Surely you must have some other musical influence.
Yeah, sure. The Rolling Stones,
Oasis.
Radiohead. But they were all influenced by the Beatles, see? It all comes back to the Beatles.
It all comes back to the Beatles. How do you mean?
The Beatles changed the world of rock music forever, man. I mean, Sinatra, Elvis, yeah, they were good, but they were just singers. They didn't write their own songs. They just went around, they sang concerts, released singles, but the Beatles crafted whole albums. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was a masterpiece.
So then, why? How does one band have so much influence over your music? Over rock music in general?
The Beatles were just it. They had that elusive factor.
Other bands come and go with the times. The Beatles were the times. They were the icons of a generation. They made the world take rock music seriously. And they showed us that four guys with guitars really can change the world. And when
Beatles rock band,
night
Beatles Cirque du Soleil musical, 7 Grammys to their name. The Beatles were the best-selling band of all time. They sold over 1 billion records. But in the words of that immortal songwriting duo, Lennon and McCartney, I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. The Beatles had a different kind of impact.
Almost everything the Beatles did was great, and it's hard to improve on. They were our Bach. The way to get around it may be to keep it as simple as possible.
Let it be.
T-Bone Burnett.
Let it be.
The Beatles were happening. I think that was probably the main thing.
Whisper
The Beatles just
words,
changed the whole world of music.
Let it be.
Barry McGuire.
Perhaps I understood why the Beatles had to stop
Let it
performing.
be.
Their songs
Let
weren't
it be.
theirs anymore. They were everybody's. Elvis Costello.
Whisper words of wisdom. Let it be.